before we get started, I pulled a card for me, and I just wanted to get some clarity before I started today. And so the card I pulled is the card of invisibility. And again, this is me sharing what I pulled for me, but invisibility is also called authenticity. And it's interesting. Very interesting. We are all born to shine our light out into the world and to take our roles, hiding our talents, not expressing our true selves, stealing others' ideas or work, and being someone else rather than your authentic self are all aspects to consider should this card appear in your reading. Quite the interesting card. I have someone I'm going to share that with because yeah, that's been quite a theme here lately. So I'm going to go ahead and get started at 10:05, which is in 2 minutes. Hoping some folks do jump on. If not, this is available for the replay, and that's fine. I just love the interaction. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's funny to see me over there on that screen over there. Okay, so we're going to do a very brief review because today we are staying with the solar plexus, and yesterday we did an extensive deep dive into how the solar plexus operates, the fact that it functions on a frequency with a wave, and that the frequency and the wave of the emotional solar plexus actually impact the frequency of the collective. That's why we're learning about this. That's why we're focused on understanding how emotions flow through our body so we can be better custodians of our emotional frequency, thereby impacting the collective in a more positive fashion. So, what are gates? What do they do? And how do you know which gates impact in your chart, right? Gates. Gates come from the I Ching, and the I Ching is about universal life lessons. In the I Ching, there are 64 lessons. Those 64 lessons line up to the 64 gates in the body graph. The 64 gates in the body graph line up to the 64 codons in your DNA. It all works in that way. So, think of each of those 64 gates as a light switch. And if yours has color, a full channel, or even a hanging gate, so if yours is active, that means that at some point at a significant period in your development, whether 3 months before you were born or at your birth, somebody came in and flipped that light switch on, right? We talked about that. We talked about how when you are in the presence of other people, they can turn on light switches which typically are not on for you, right? So if you are someone who is not a sacral being and you walk into my aura, I'm walking all up in your sacral going, ooh, turn all these lights on. Let's light it up in here. Let's get some action going. They're not necessarily naturally your gates, but you get them from the people you're around. the transits. So there are ways, again, where we take in the energy of the universe. So think of it in this way. Where you are defined, you are the student, and where you are not defined are the lessons you are here to learn in life. That's the teacher. That's the learning material. Okay? So, hopefully you've got your chart and you know which gates are active for you. I'm going to grab this version of mine. I should probably get a more recent version, but it's still correct. So today, we are going to talk about the top 3 gates along here, the top 3. And so it's going to be 37, 22, and 36 are the 3 gates we're talking about to do a deep dive into the theme of the emotions that filter through those gates. What are you feeling and experiencing when someone walks in and turns that switch on for you? That's what we're talking about. Now, we could get into the lines of those a little bit, but I don't know that we are. Let's see where this goes. So again, there is tribal awareness, individual awareness, and collective awareness. And your waves operate in those, and they're assigned a specific type of operation. So, let's see. Okay, so gate 37, the first one we're going to talk about, is part of tribal awareness. So tribal needs drive the stream of awareness moving through the solar plexus. This particular stream starts in the root in gate 19, pushes from the root in gate 19 up into the solar plexus, out through gate 37 and into gate 40, which is in the heart. This is the emotion, the wave that causes us to bind and stick together. This wave presents itself in a ratchet wave. So this wave is a slow buildup of tension. There's a back and forth, escalating, cranking of your emotions over time until the point that either tension releases and there's either clarity or an explosion. So think of this as the gate of, or as the energy of the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Something happens and it ratchets and it's not dealt with. And then something else happens and it ratchets and it's not dealt with. And you continue this process until there's enough pressure over time cranking on this particular gate that either you're going to get the clarity or you're going to have an emotional explosion. So gate 37, which is a ratchet wave based on the bargain regarding resources and principles of the tribe, it's about the family. It is a social gate. It's a gate of friendship, family, affection, touching, hugging, but it has a price. Now, we talked about a bit yesterday that as we move into the cross of the sleeping phoenix and out of the cross of planning, we're moving further away from this bargain energy, right? So this is a place for people who are defined in their will center, where they need to be very careful about the bargains and agreements they make, because when you're defined in your will center and you make that bargain coming out of that emotional solar plexus, and those are both motors, you will honor that bargain to your physical detriment. Now, if you are not defined and you're pushing that out, you have a hanging gate, or your solar plexus is not defined, you struggle with making the right bargains for you if you don't enter into your bargains with the correct energy. This gate in the solar plexus, this awareness in regards to the family, in regards to resources, it is awareness of who will or won't provide what the tribe needs, and it's found predominantly in people with the gate 37 active, right? So that's the energy of that particular gate. So then we move from gate 37 to gate 22. So gate 22 is an individual energy gate. It's individual awareness. So individual passion drives a deeply mutative stream of awareness moving through the solar plexus. This pushes energy to your throat. This is where you're either moody or not, right? If you are doing a lot of self-care, very self-aware, someone who meditates, someone who's done a lot of your work, healthy emotional definition, this stream is on consistent and even plane most of the time, and occasionally something will do to cause it to spike. Like some extraneous thing will happen that will cause a spike and affect your level of emotion. Melancholy beats in people in this wave. Between the pulses of emotion is when the mutation happens. Knowing it's creative, it's inspiration in this particular individual energy. So knowing when to be alone with your creative inspiration in this wave, because you don't know until you know and you're feeling it. So when I talked about feeling yourself go into a low and then removing yourself from a situation and spending your quality time working through that, because it's really a highly creative energy, we just like to label things. So we label it as negative, and it isn't and low isn't necessarily negative if that's not how we choose to see it. So see it as a time where you're deeply introspective and you're really able to dig into some of your creativity, right? The gate of openness, gate 22, is the gate of grace. It is the gate that gives you the power to pay attention. Remember, we're talking about awareness things, and we are moving, while we'll get to the spleen, we are moving away from splenic awareness, which is about just survival, into a time of emotional solar plexus awareness, which is a matter of spirit and connection, right? If this gate is active for you, you're someone who can probably convince people to be social who normally wouldn't be social, to go out and do things that they normally wouldn't do. The gate of openness carries an uncertainty that people will listen, or that there's something worthwhile to listen to. And there's a fear of silence that's in this gate. And all of our gates carry these energies at both end of the spectrum: the joy and the pain, the fear and the boldness, right? Tara, there are other videos. So Sunday was just an introduction and an overview. And then yesterday was a deep dive into the function of the solar plexus. And the source of all emotional waves comes out of gate 6 in the solar plexus. So we did a deep dive into the solar plexus and then the function of gate number 6. So if that's where you want to begin, you feel free to begin. Today, I'm going over gates 37, 22, and 36 in the solar plexus to cover the themes that you can feel from those. And then tomorrow, I'm going to go through, where's my list? 49, 55, and 30 in the solar plexus and those themes. So I've done this in chunks that in my brain made sense. So that you could understand how it works in general, the source of mechanics of waves, what it's all about, and then get into the other energies that could present. Just to clarify, before you hop off, do you know how to read your chart? Because I just want to make sure when you are looking at your chart, the solar plexus is the triangle on the right-hand side. At the bottom, the brown triangle on the right that mirrors the triangle on the left, which is the spleen, which is what we'll start talking about when I'm done with the solar plexus. Okay, right. So that's exactly why I want you to know. So here's a chart. So when we're looking at it, so we're going to do this together just to make sure. This side on the right is your emotional solar plexus. This side on your left is your spleen. And these are the two centers we're talking about. And I'm talking about those, and I'm really doing this deep dive because I feel like it's what I can offer right now that's helping the collective understand how your body manages emotional energy and fear to be in a place where you're a much better custodian of those things filtering through you. And so the emotional solar plexus impacts the collective in a pretty significant way. And if you are defined, that means you are pushing out an emotional wave. And if you are not defined, so if that triangle is white, whether it's all white or whether it's white with a couple of little circles in it, you take in the emotions that defined people are pushing out and you amplify them. And learning to recognize and understand that is just as important as managing what you're pushing out if you're pushing out. So that's kind of just the quick and dirty of how it's going. So thank you so much. If you want to keep listening, you can. If you want to hop over and start with Sunday, they're posted. You can absolutely do that. And I'm going to continue talking about, so I've done gate 37. Now I'm going to do gate 22. Or finish gate 22, and then I'm going to get into gate 36, and I'm trying to get into some detail so people understand those waves, how those waves can feel, and what those themes are, so you can recognize when that energy is coming at you. So then we're going to move. So we did gate 22, the gate of grace. It pulses with the empowerment, the power to pay attention, to get others to pay attention to you. So remember, these are all about awareness and awareness in a sense that we're evolving into versus where we've been as humanity. Okay. You have fun with that, and I will talk to you soon. Please, if you have questions, tag me in them. I will go back and answer all questions. So, collective awareness, right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is 36, and 36 is part of the collective awareness. So, this is called the human experiential way. It's not about the expected results. It's about the experiences themselves. So this emotional energy is energy that comes out of what you're experiencing in life. The chemistry in this stream creates an emotional wave that turns on, rises to a high peak, then off, and crashes when you are living with expectations and then those expectations are not met. This abstract or crash wave is a simple fact of life as we know it, because things never turn out how we think they are supposed to, right? And so we have all of these expectations of things, and that's the source of riding the wave as far as those kind of emotions go. So I'm going to show you this. It's in my the book, which is there are not a lot of books available on the commercial market for human design, but if there is the book, this one is the book, right? It was written by Linda Bonnell in association with Ra Uru Hu. It is part of the International Human Design School, which is the organization that Ra founded for the continuation of his work. So here is a photo of what these waves look like, right? This is just to give you an idea when they talk about and describe the way that the waves work. And it starts here when they talk about, we talked about the 6 being the source of all waves. This is what the ratchet looks like. This is the spike. And this is the crash wave. And these are just examples of the way they represent the behavior of these waves that we feel physically. So when you are operating correctly, when you are clear that you've walked into something with some expectations and your expectations may not be met, the crash wave is fine, because what we know is that this is about the journey and not about the destination, right? The destination doesn't exist. The destination is something we've created in our imagination. And it's really important, if you are defined here, that you really embrace that we are here for the experience, and that the experience is the process, and staying correct in that energy will really help you temper everything you're pushing out. And aside, sexuality is a fundamental driver for the collective energy, right? So 36 is called the gate of crisis. It is the most powerful emotional energy releaser that we have. It has been referred to as the darkening of the light. It is the drive to turn inexperience into experience, a readiness for sharing through growth and profound emotional challenges, along with having emotional power. When you have this gate, and this gate is active for you, and you have the new experience, or you enter into something and you're inexperienced and you feel like it's a crisis and you feel like it's difficult, or that's part of this energy working its way through your system, right? The key to remember about having this is awareness. Possibility is the hunger wave of hope and pain. It literally is all of that in one thing. Major keys for this gate. In a healthy expression, it's an emotional endurance, right? You're able to hold space. You are able to sit with and sit in those emotions, waiting for your storm to pass and gaining your clarity before taking action. It's the space for humanity and compassion, to understand that others may struggle with big, deep feelings and lash out. This is where, when we can recognize in ourselves that it is not about the destination, but it's about the journey. And we can honor in other people that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And be compassionate when we know they are in waves. Be compassionate when we know that we're sending out a wave of frustration that has set people in our home into turmoil, right? Because that's part of what we can do. That we find it in ourselves to take some time to sit in those feelings, to respect those feelings, to acknowledge those feelings, and then let those feelings move through our physical form. And there are a number of ways that you can allow those things to move through your physical form. I, again, will tell you that I love to dance. And I love to color. So those are kind of the two creative outlets. Although my youngest daughter has been painting a lot lately, and I used to paint, and I'm really thinking, oh, that would be a really good creative outlet to pick back up to help me work through some of these feelings. Right? So this is an overview of the basic themes of these 3 channels. And I'm going to leave this one at that and allow you, once you've looked at this video and you've looked at the themes, to ask questions specifically about your gates that you have. So if you have gate 36, but it's a line 1, ask a question about that. If it's a line 6, ask a question about that. And then in the comments of this video, we will dive a lot deeper into folks' individual recognition and themes for the lines that exist in these gates for them, because it's going to deviate slightly based on the flavor that the line gives the gate. Right? So I want this to be as interactive as possible. I want to help you really dig into what these mean for you, right? So like if you're a gate 36 line 1, it's about learning the lesson of when you're in the middle of crisis or turmoil, don't let your emotions make decisions for you, to wait for your clarity before you act. If you're a 36 line 2, it's all about relationships and learning who we are able to lean on in times of challenge and how we get to lean on them, right? If it's line 3, that has a phoenix rising from the ashes vibe to it. So again, look at your emotional solar plexus. Look at gates 37, 22, and 36. Remember that the line theme is after the decimal point. So if you want to know a little more information about your specific gate and line, drop something in the comments. Make sure you tag me and I will come back and I will answer that. And you'll really get a lot more clarity around how that behaves for you. So I hope you're enjoying this. I know that I am. I'm going to start to work on my resource list and get that dropped sometime today. I hope you are having a really meaningful time, right? Us being asked to stay in place, or whatever your community is requesting of you right now, has us doing things in ways we have never had to do them before. And that's why understanding the feelings going through your body and what you can do to mitigate them, or if they're not your feelings, if there's someone else's feelings that you're around, number 1, being able to release them. And number 2, being able to be in a space of compassion when you can recognize the emotional turmoil that someone else is in, right? So have a great day. I will talk to you guys soon. I am really, really enjoying sharing this Ask away. I love you guys.